Hello everyone. So today we are moving on to a new chapter, that is chemical bonding and molecular structure. This is a very important chapter. I may say it is the backbone of chemistry. Like here we are dealing or starting to study about the structure, how a molecule has got a definite geometry or a structure, as well as what is the what in reality is the chemical bonding. Okay, so you know various types of bonds are there. You have studied in lower classes like ionic bond, covalent bond, coordinate bond, etc. So how that happens between the molecules or atoms, how a bond exists, is it hypothetical or is it real? So what is the reason behind that force, etc. we are going to study in detail in this chapter. Okay. We know if you say a compound, for example methane, or if you say a compound like ethane, you may say that the two carbon atoms are bonded by the two carbon atoms are bonded by a single bond, isn't it? And you know that what is a single bond? You say that two electrons makes a bond, isn't it? Two electrons makes a bond. Now, actually this bond is hypothetical, which means there is no such bond here. Then what is there? There is only the force or the attractive force which bind these two carbon atoms. So, in reality, the bond means the attractive force which two atoms are joined. Isn't it? Two atoms are joined in such a way that a molecule is formed. So, that attractive force represents a bond. Otherwise, there is no such bond here. There are only electrons there, and the electrons will contribute what? Different types of forces, attractive forces. Isn't it? There has to be the attractive force, not repulsive force. Only attractive force, then the atoms will attract. So many types of forces which we will deal with later, like van der Waals force, that's a weak force, ionic force. You have studied electrostatic force of attraction. It is the most strong bond, isn't it? That is the the transfer of electrons from one element or one atom to the other to make the bond very strong, isn't it? So that kind of bond exists, or dispersion bond exists, dipole force exists, induced dipole force exists, London force exists. So many types of forces we can come across while dealing with so many molecules or compounds. Okay, so in this chapter we are dealing with that type of bonds. And you may be wondering that why such molecule. If I say that ClF3 has got a T-shaped structure, okay, or I may say water has got a bent structure. Now why that structure happens, or why this and for example if you say carbon dioxide, it has got a linear structure, but if you say for example water, it has got a V-shaped or a bent structure. Why that happens, or why the water molecule has got a bent structure? So all these things we can come across in this chapter. That is why I called it as a backbone of chemistry. Here you are dealing with why that happens. In reality, there are bond pair, lone pair repulsions happen. Then the attraction is more happening in some compounds. As all these things are come across. And also we have studied earlier that there is an octet theory which says that only an octet makes a compound stable. Here we are going beyond that. There is no, okay, octet is necessary, but beyond an octet also a molecule can exist. So now the question comes how, why, etc. So all these answers for all these questions we will come across in this chapter. So please study very systematically this chapter. Then it will be very easy for the coming years also. Okay. So let us start with, and now coming to this chemical bonding approach. So many scientists have come across with various kinds of approach, and mainly four approaches or four theories we are considering in this chapter. And first one is the Lewis-Cossel or the Cossel-Lewis approach for a chemical bonding. Okay. Then there are valence bond theory is there in order to satisfy the bonding and structure. Then valence shell electron pair repulsion theory, VSEPR theory is there. Then molecular orbital theory is there. So 4 main theories are there, out of which today we will see what is Cossel-Lewis theory, or it is not said as theory, it is said as an approach. Cossel, that is, his postulates are already we know what his postulates, he just make it into an approach. So the first is Cossel-Lewis approach. Okay, Cossel-Lewis approach. Cossel-Lewis approach for the chemical bonding. Okay, he says that having an octet will make a molecule or a compound stable. We all know that the atoms or the molecules react in order to form an octet, except the noble gases, for which they are having an octet configuration. So all the molecules are tending to get an octet. That is why the chemical reactivity also happens, isn't it? So he says that, or this Cossel-Lewis approach can be also called as an electronic concept for the chemical bonding, which means that he says that the nucleus, the atom is considered, or atom behaves as, you know, atom consists of a nucleus and electrons, isn't it? The nucleus is in the center and the electrons are revolving around it. What he says is, he says that the atom consists of a kernel. What do you mean by kernel? Kernel means, he says that the nucleus as well as the inner core electrons. Now you know the imagination of an inner core, because we have already studied the shielding effect, isn't it? So inner core electron, you have also studied how to write the core thing for an electronic configuration, isn't it? By making the noble gas configuration as the core, then you go for the valence electron. So you know already what is a core. Okay, so here says that the nucleus as well as the inner core as a one unit, as one entity. Okay, so kernel means, kernel, he says that the nucleus as well as the inner core electrons are said to be a kernel, and the outer electrons are, or you call what outer electrons? Valence electrons. Valence electrons are giving for the, I mean, is there for the combination. I mean, the valence electrons are mainly needed for this bonding. Okay, so his approach was like that. And moreover, he said the outer electrons or the valence shell are seated in a cubical arrangement. See, he said there is one kernel there, there is one entity. One entity, what is that? The nucleus as well as the inner core electrons as a whole he recommended as an entity, and the outer electrons, you know the electronic configuration to write. So the outer electrons, he says that they are seated in a cubical arrangement. What is that? Cubical arrangement means, for example, if you say sodium. If you say simple example, I will tell you, sodium having an atomic number of 11. Now, if you write the electronic configuration, you can write it as 2, 8 and 1. Now, what Cossel and Lewis says that this is the kernel. Okay, this is the kernel and the outer electron is 1. Correct? And this outer electron is seated, this is a kernel, that is nucleus and the inner core, and there is one electron, isn't it? So that one electron is seated anywhere in this one of the corners of the 8 corners of a cube. That was his approach. To be very simple, he says the outer electrons. So how many outer electrons can be there for a stable configuration? Of course it is 8. That is octet theory. So his approach was in accordance with the octet theory. Okay, that is why we say the Cossel-Lewis approach was also called as an electronic theory for this chemical bonding. Okay, so he says that if only one electron is there, it can have, or it is seated any one of the corners of a cube which has got having an 8 corners. And the noble gas, what about the noble gas? They have 8 electrons, isn't it? Except helium, that is a duplet, all other noble gases have an octet. So in this case, in the noble gas configuration or in the noble gases, all the 8 electrons are seated in the 8 corners of a cube. So that was said to be a stable arrangement. That was his, Lewis proposed that like this. So understood what is kernel and what is the outer or valence electrons and how the valence electrons are seated in a cubical arrangement. Okay, so that is about this Coasel-Lewis approach. Okay, now he says that the atoms are linked by chemical bond in order or when they become octet, or the chemical bond, they form chemical bond by, by sharing or gaining or whatever reason they form, or they tend to form an octet. Okay. Then the stable outer electronic configuration is octet. Now again Lewis has made his own symbols for representing the valence electrons. And it is called as Lewis symbols. What is it? Lewis symbols. Okay. He designated only the outer electron for each element. And that type of symbols he called it as Lewis symbols. Okay. So we will see how Lewis symbols goes. Okay. For example, in the case of lithium, if you want to write the Lewis, exactly you call it as Lewis dot structure. Lewis dot symbols. It is said like that. But simply you can call it also as Lewis symbols. Okay. So in the case of lithium having an atomic number 3, the electronic configuration is 2 and 1. Now I represent this lithium as Lewis symbol as, see, a lithium and 1 dot. See, lithium and 1 dot. By seeing this structure, by seeing this symbol, you can say definitely this is a Lewis symbol in which the lithium has got an outer electron of 1 or valence electron of 1. Isn't it? For example, lithium, beryllium. Beryllium is 4. It is 2, 2, and I can write it as beryllium 2 like this. Got it? Now, if you say 5, boron 5, it is 2, 3. So, boron 1, 2 and 3. So, this is simply called as the Lewis symbol. So, you just go through this. You have to write the Lewis symbol from lithium to neon. Just write it. Okay, the second period you can write using this symbol. Carbon. Carbon is 1, 2, 3, 4. So, likewise till neon. You have to write it. So, this is what is called as the Lewis symbol. So, you got it? Okay, so now you know what is the Coasel-Lewis approach for the chemical bonding, as well as he says that when a stable configuration is what it is called as an octet, and he considered as a kernel in which nucleus and the inner core electrons are in there and the outer electrons are sitting in an 8 corners of a cubic. So that was his approach. Okay, and the Lewis symbol is like this. You have to write from lithium to neon. Okay. Now we will see Coasel in relation to this chemical bonding. He formed some postulates. It's a very simple postulates. Okay. Mainly the Lewis-Coasel structure, the Lewis-Coasel chemical bonding is mainly for this electrovalent bond or the ionic bond, to be frank. Lewis-Coasel applied his approach for giving ionic bond or electrovalent bond. So that keeping in mind, he formulated or he postulated 3 or 4 postulates he put forward. Okay, and the first postulate was, shall I rub this? Okay, the first postulate was in a periodic table, in a periodic table, the most electronegative elements, which are they? The most electronegative elements were halogens, isn't it? Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine and astatine, isn't it? The most electronegative elements in a periodic table and the most electropositive alkali metals. What are they? You know what are alkali metals, right? Lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium and francium. He says that in a periodic table, the most electronegative elements, that is a halogen family, and the most electropositive alkali metals are, he says that they are divided, they are separated by what? Noble gases. These two are separated by helium, neon, argon, krypton and xenon. So these two are separated by what? The noble gas elements. That was this first postulate. Okay. Now what was the second postulate? The second postulate, he says that fluorine is more electronegative, which means that what? It readily accepts one electron. Okay. So this high electronegative halogen will gain electron. See, which gain electron to form an anion or a negative ion. And at the same time, what happens? The alkali metals, that is the highly electropositive metal, is able to lose electron to form a cation. That is the second postulate. Very simple postulates. Already you know all this. Okay, just to getting up into that approach, that's all. So he says that the most electronegative elements like halogens gain electron to form an anion, and at the same time the most electropositive alkali metals will lose electrons to form a cation. Correct. Now the third one is, the third postulate, he says that by gaining an electron, the electronegative element, and by gaining an electron by electronegative elements and accepting an electron by alkali metals, in both ways, by gaining as well as gaining as well as losing, what happens? They form a stable configuration. That was his third postulate. So by gaining or accepting the electrons, all these elements, what happens? They attain a stable configuration. If you see an example, see lithium is 2, that is a duplet, that's an exception. The sodium, see, it is 2, 8 and 1. That is alkali metal. Correct. Now it loses one electron to form what? To form an outer electronic configuration is 8. So a stable configuration. You know that. And still when coming to chlorine, see, chlorine is 17. That is 2, 8 and 7. Only one electron in need for what? One electron in need for the octet. So it will gain one electron to form to attain a stable electronic configuration. So that was his approach. And I already told you that the main thing in their approach is making the electrovalent bond or ionic compounds. Mainly this is okay with the ionic compounds or electrovalent compound. Okay. So, and then one more postulate he said is that this anion having a negative charge and the cation having a positive charge are held together very strongly by a bond called as electrovalent bond or ionic bond. Earlier you have studied what ionic bond is, the transfer of electrons from an anion, from an electropositive element to an electronegative element to make an electrovalent bond, which is a very, very strong bond. Isn't it? So here the same thing applies. He says that the gaining of electron forming an anion and cation are both held together to form a electrovalent bond, or for having a more than an electrovalent bond, he said they form a chemical bond. And that chemical bond in this case is said to be an electrovalent bond or an ionic bond. Now we see a simple example of sodium, which also you know, but still in the textbook it is there. I am just getting into that, that's all. Okay. So next is having the formation of sodium chloride. Okay. You know sodium, already I wrote, that is 2, 8 and 1. 2, 8 and 1. It loses one electron to form what? 2, 8. Isn't it? 2 and 8. That is helium, neon, neon configuration. Isn't it? 2 and 8. The chlorine, chlorine is what? Chlorine is 2, 8 and 7. It forms Na to Na plus and Cl to Cl minus. Again what? and stable electronic configuration, isn't it? And neon, yes, neon 28, that is 10, helium neon. This is neon argon. This is argon. See, it attains a stable configuration. Then what was his postulate? What is the postulate? This positive ion and negative ion will form a chemical bond, and in this case we call it as an electrovalent bond. And you know that the sodium and chloride ion does not exist as a bond, it forms as an aggregate of molecule or a group of atoms, isn't it? Since it is an ionic compound. Okay, so that's another thing. So this how happens. Clear? Okay. Now you have to do one homework for me, that is the formation of CaF2, that is calcium fluoride. Write the electronic configuration, then what is the stable configuration, what is the stable noble gas element is coming, then you join it and form the calcium fluoride. Okay, so here the bond formed as a result of the electrostatic force of attraction, isn't it? That why electrostatic force of attraction? Because a positive ion as well as a negative ion. So the bond which is formed between a positive ion and a negative ion, that is called as an electrostatic force of attraction. That is called as an electrovalent bond. And the electrovalence or the electrovalency is what? The charge which each ion carries. It's very important. Last class also we have discussed, isn't it? Valency, oxidation state. That's what. So the electrovalence or the valency is what? With every element carries or every ion carries. For example, sodium. What is the electrovalence of sodium? That is +1, because only one positive charge is carrying by sodium. And what is chloride ion? That is Cl minus, that is -1 charge. Again the unit negative charge is there. So the electrovalence can be seen by the charge which carried by the constituent element or atom. So that is called as an electrostatic bond or electrovalent bond. Clear? So that's all about what? That's all about the Cousel-Lewis approach of electrovalent bond. Okay. Now actually this Cousel-Lewis structure has given a more insight or a more beginning into the relevance of ionic compounds to be said. And then the scientists know that, okay, but the drawback was that we all know that all the compounds formed are not ionic compounds, isn't it? So that was his drawback, and this Cousel-Lewis approach was mainly, as I already told you, is mainly for the electrovalent bond or the ionic bond. Okay, so that was his drawback, able to explain by the octet theory, isn't it? It is also called as the electronic theory of this chemical bonding. Okay, that is, he says that only attaining an octet, the compound will be stable. Okay. So that was about the ionic bond or the electrovalent bond. You all know, you earlier studied all these things. Then after that, after this Lewis structures explanation and all, you know the symbols also, right? Okay. Then after that, Langmuir, a scientist in 1919, Lewis has said in 1916, but Langmuir, a scientist, said that Langmuir in 1919, along with Lewis, has suggested that this octet can be obtained, that is, the outer electron, octet 8, can be obtained not only by this transfer of electrons, but by sharing of electrons. There comes the relevance of covalent bond. We know, we have studied what is covalent bond, sharing of electrons. Now who proposed that? Langmuir and Lewis. So in 1919, Langmuir and Lewis formulated or postulated that not only by the transfer of electrons a chemical bond can happen, but also by sharing of electron also it can form an octet and a chemical bond can happen. And that type of bond by which sharing of electron happens to form an octet is called as nothing but a covalent bond. Okay, so Langmuir was the scientist along with Lewis getting into an approach of what? Covalent bond. And you know how to draw a covalent molecule. For example, Today we can draw a covalent molecule like chlorine. See, I will draw, you all know, but still in the textbook it is there. That's why I am telling you the formation of a chlorine molecule by a covalent bond. Here we are using the Lewis symbol. Okay, chlorine means what? Chlorine is 17, that is 2, 8 and 7. So for chlorine, I will write 2, 4, 6 and 7. Why? Because you only write the valence electrons in a Lewis structure or a Lewis dot symbol. Okay, so this is the first chlorine and this is the second chlorine, 2, 4, 6 and 8. Then what happens here? Sharing happens. See, it is the sharing happens. This electron is shared. This electron from the chlorine is getting shared by this chlorine and vice versa. And it forms what? It forms a bond, that is Cl-Cl bond. 8 electron here as well as the 8 electron here. Simple. So this is how the formation of a covalent molecule. You know, you have studied, you have written so many covalent molecules like hydrogen, nitrogen, etc. Isn't it? So this is the covalent bond. The chemical bond, you call it as the covalent bond, which comes as the sharing of electrons. Okay. Now again the Langmuir and Lewis says that he made some simple postulates he made. That means a chemical bond is formed only between at least one electron from each atom will have to share it. And a shared pair of electron makes one bond. That was his postulate. Okay, so at least one electron will have to take part in this sharing in order to form that bond, and one bond means 2 electrons. Okay, so that was his postulates. And he also represented the formation of water molecule. Just to maintain the postulate, he says that water molecule is formed by covalent bond, that is H2O. How is it? Oxygen being the electronegative and 2, 4, 5 and 6. Hydrogen, there is only 1. Here hydrogen also 1. So hydrogen, there is an exception, right? That is duplet. And oxygen is a octet. So for oxygen there is 8 electron. For hydrogen there is 2 electron. And for this hydrogen also 2 electron. So a chemical. So this bond, see, this bond by sharing of electrons, a chemical bond happens there. And that is called as nothing but a covalent bond. So that's easy, right? You all know that. You all come across with this ionic bond as well as the covalent bond. And one more molecule he said is as CCl4. That also you know, I know. So just draw the covalent molecule or covalent bonding in CCl4. The sharing of electrons with carbon with the 4 chlorine atom. Okay. So just see to it and draw it in your notebook. Okay. Now this is a single bond. A single bond means what? There are only 2 electrons. Now if an atom donates 2 electrons each, listen, if an atom donates 2 electrons each, then what will happen? A multiple bond like double bond happens, isn't it? You know that. For example, oxygen, O2. What happens? 2, 4 and 6. Second, 2, 4 and 6. Now what happens in this oxygen molecule? 2 electrons from each oxygen is donating, getting into sharing. So what happens? This is one bond and this is other bond. That is why oxygen you call it as a double bonded thing. That means multiple bond happens. It can happen in sharing. That's what. And the same way, if 3 electrons are sharing by each atom, then it will get into a triple bond, isn't it? It will get into a triple bond. And what is the example? You know, the example is nitrogen. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this and this. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. So there is a triple bond here, that is N triple bond N. That is 3 electrons from each nitrogen is getting into sharing. Thereby what happens? An N triple bond N is formed. Okay, so this is about this covalent bond having a single bond, double bond and a triple bond, etc. So the Langmuir says that if a bond is to get happened, there must be at least 2 electrons, and each electron, at least 1 electron is from the one atom and the second is from the other atom. Thereby a chemical bond happens, isn't it? And each combining atom contributes at least 1 electron in that electron pair. That is very important. You can't have 2 electrons both from nitrogen and having a bond. No, it cannot happen like that. Okay, so that is where the bonding happens, and this is what is called as a covalent bond. So now we know the difference between an ionic bond as well as a covalent bond. Okay. Now next is now we will see the Lewis representation of simple molecules. Okay, this is very, very important. That is how to write a Lewis dot structure. Okay, it's very important. It will come in the exam. So the Lewis representation we will study only simple molecules. Okay, not the complex molecule. We study only simple molecule. Okay. Now you know that a Lewis representation will give you an idea of the chemical bonding, that is which bond is there, that is even if there is a sharing of electron or a transfer of electrons, which leads to either a covalent bond or an electrovalent bond, isn't it? So it also gives us an idea of ions in terms of shared electrons, isn't it? So for example, I will tell you what it is. Ions in terms of shared electron means what? Na it can only lose 1 electron, isn't it? And it forms Na plus. So it will give you an idea of the electrovalency of that particular atom, isn't it? So sodium, for example, in the case of chlorine, it can only accept 1 electron to form an octet. So its electrovalency is negative, that is -1. So that represents the ions in terms of shared electrons, and of course the octet theory. He says that, the Lewis says that always whenever an atom wants to be in a stable configuration, it must attain an octet theory. Okay, but in actual it is not so. But in this case, he represented the approach as that, like that. Now we will see how to write a Lewis dot structure. We will see 1 or 2 and I'll give you a homework. Okay. So there are certain rules to follow how to write a Lewis dot structure. Okay, you know Lewis simple how you write. How you only write the outer electrons, that is the valence electrons only you write in the Lewis symbol. Now we will see how to write a Lewis dot structure. Now the first is you have to count the total number of valence electrons. What do you mean by that? For example, I will give you an example. That is, for example, if it is methane, how will you calculate the total valence electrons in methane? Total number of electrons means what? Adding the valence electrons, only the valence electrons. For example, carbon valence electron is 4, isn't it? Hydrogen, the valence electron is 1, only 1 electron. So 4 hydrogen means what? 4 hydrogen means into 4. So carbon is 6, no? So 4 plus 4, 8. So that is total number of electron is 8, isn't it? So that is how you calculate the number of valence electrons. Okay. So that is the first step. First step is you have to calculate the total number of electrons, which means that the total number of valence electrons. If there is 3 elements, you have to calculate all the valence electrons in that 3 elements. For example, H2SO4, hydrogen, sulfur and oxygen, all the 3 valence electrons are there. Okay, so that is it. So that is the total number of valence electrons. Then the second rule is that if there is an anion or a cation, you know, because not all the elements are neutral molecules, isn't it? They only form octet by gaining or losing electrons. So definitely there will be anions and cations. So if an anion is there, for example, CO3 2 minus, just for an example, CO3 2 minus, how will you calculate the total valence electrons? The total valence electron is the carbon valence electron, each oxygen's valence electrons, plus how many charges are there, you have to add that. So negative ion means you have to add that electron. That is why I wrote it as add that electron. If it is only 1 minus, you add plus 1. If it is 2 minus, CO3 2 minus, you add the valence electrons of all these and plus 2. If it is PO4 3 minus, that is 3 minus charges. So you have to add plus 3. Okay. In the same way, cations, for example, Na plus. Na plus means you have to subtract the electron. That is, the valence electron is what? For example, NaCl or NaCl or NH4 plus. See, NH4 plus. In the case of NH4 plus, the nitrogen valence electron plus hydrogen valence electron into 4, then you minus 1 electron, that is plus 1. C is for example, if it is having 2 plus, then you have to subtract minus 2. 3 plus minus 3. So that is the rule. So the first rule is you have to add all the total number of valence electrons. If there is an anion, you add it, and if it is a cation, you subtract that electron. Got it? Now, the third is, you know the chemical symbols for the atoms. For example, if you want to have a compound like methane, you know that it is CH4, isn't it? Carbon and hydrogen. The carbon symbol is C and the hydrogen symbol is H. So you know the chemical symbol. And then you have to have a knowledge of that skeleton. For example, that you get only after writing so many structures. Okay, they are telling like that, but you get an idea of how that skeletal structure goes will have only by writing so many examples. Then you will have an idea. Okay, so they are telling knowledge of skeletal structure to distribute the total number of electrons. So you have a total number of electrons and you want to distribute the total number of electrons between, if it is a 3 element, if it is a 2 element, the 2 element, isn't it? So you have to have, and that is by doing guesswork it will have. Okay, you have to do an R&D for that. So by practice you will come to know what is that skeletal structure, and then you add the electrons into it to make them octet. Okay, so to distribute the total number of electrons you should have a knowledge of the skeletal structure, and we will see. Then they says that generally it happens like that. The most electronegative atom will be on the terminal side and the less electronegative will be the central atom. For example, see, once more I will tell them. Generally, what happens, the less electronegative will occupy the central position. For example, CH4. CH4, C is the electronegative in character, or for example, CO3. CO3, what happens, carbon is less electronegative, so carbon will be in the center and the oxygen will be the terminal. Okay. Likewise, in NF3, in the case of NF3, what happens, fluorine is most electronegative than nitrogen, so nitrogen is the less electronegative, so nitrogen will be in the center with the 3 fluorine atoms in the terminal. So that is the meaning of that. So generally, the least electronegative atom will be in the center. So if you study or if you go for the organic chemistry and all, we know that carbon is there. So almost on all probability, 90% of that carbon compound, 90% of the compounds having carbon will have the carbon atom will have the position at the center. It means less electronegative. Okay. And then it says that first what you have to do, you have to get a skeleton. Then they said that you have to give the electron pair, the shared electron pair to all these elements. Then they are telling, after shared electrons for single bond, first you have to make a single bond first. Correct. First you have to make a single bond. Then there are so many electrons left. That electrons are used either for multiple bond. If for example carbon dioxide, there are C double bond O, multiple bond. So you can make use of this multiple bonds, or you can have that electrons as such in that element. That is called as lone pair electron. Now what do you mean by bond pair and lone pair? I will tell you. Okay. Bond pair means, see, bond pair means the electrons that are taking part in bonding is called as bond pair electron. For example, carbon to carbon. For example, nitrogen. You know, nitrogen, if you say ammonia, NH3. Okay, NH3, nitrogen has got 5 valence electrons, isn't it? 5, 2, 5. Okay, now 3 in ammonia, in NH3 molecule, what happens? 3 hydrogen atom, it shares with 3 electrons of nitrogen and hydrogen to form NH3. Now, what is this electron? This is not used for bonding. It remains as such. And that type of electrons are called as lone pair electron. See? Lone pair electron. That is not used for bonding. That is called as lone pair electrons. Which is used for bonding. This is called as bond pair electron. Because it is a pair, right? This is 2 electron which is used for bonding. So it is called as a bond pair. And this is also again 2 electron, that is pair, that is called as lone pair. Okay. So the structure says that after completing a single bond, see whether it needs a double bond. If it doesn't, keep the electron as such. But all these rules comes in what? It's the main rule is each atom must have an octet. Whatever said and done, you have to ensure that the last structure what you have made is by giving each atom an octet, or each atom consists of 8 electrons. That is how the Lewis, or you will write a Lewis dot structure. Okay, once again I will tell you. First you calculate the total number of electrons. How? By adding the valence electron, correct? Second, for an anion, if it is an anion, add the electrons. For -1 charge, it's +1, -2, +2, etc. For a cation, you subtract the electron according to the charges, correct? The third is, you know the chemical symbol of atoms. Then you have a general idea of how you get along with the skeleton. As I told you, by practice it can have you, but it says that a knowledge of skeleton structure to what? For distributing these electrons. Then it says that generally least electronegative atom will go for the center. For example, in the case of methane, carbon is center. Carbonate, carbon is center. NF3, if you say NF3, N is center. NH3, N is center. So most probably exceptions can be there, but if generally speaking, we can say the least electronegative atom will acquire the center position. Correct? Then what it rule says, after we have shared the electrons for making a single bond, first you don't put the double bond like that. First you make a skeletal arrangement, then you put what? Single bond. Then you make sure that if a multiple bond if it is needed, you carry on with that. Otherwise, you put it as lone pair of electrons. Isn't it? In this case, in ammonia's case, you see, I need only 3 electrons from ammonia to share it with ammonia, right? Isn't it? Then, these 2 electrons, I put it in the nitrogen itself. That is called as lone pair of electrons. Now, whatever said and done, the basic idea is each atom must have an octet, or each atom must contain 8 electrons. Okay. So I think you get the rules, and we will do 1 or 2 examples, and then you can do some homework for that. Okay. So we will do 1 example for that. Okay. The first example we will do is a simple example we will do. Okay. Just a simple example we will do for the Lewis representation, that is carbon dioxide. Okay, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide. Now, first, what is the rule? First, the rule is total number of valence electron. Isn't it? Total number of valence electron. So, what is the total? First, for that you have to give the electronic configuration. So, carbon is 6 and oxygen is 8. So, it is 2, 4 and 2, 6. Correct? 2, 4 and 2, 6. Then, what you have to do? You have to know the valence electron. Correct? First step was total number of valence electron. What is the total number of valence electrons here? 6 plus 4, 10. So, it contains 10 valence electrons. Isn't it? It contains 10 valence electrons. Now, what was the second step? If anion is there, add it. Cation is there, subtract it. So, for this point of view, there is no anion and cation. Correct. What was the third step? What was the third step? It says that what? You have to assign a skeleton for this compound. Isn't it? Now, the fourth step says the least electronegative will get a center position. So what you will say? So by combining these two steps, we can have a general skeleton or knowledge of general skeleton by guessing like C, O and O. Don't put bond. Okay, don't put bond. So I have an idea like, okay, this must be like this. You have to do some R&D in that if you are a scientist, but now you know, you are telling, or there the textbook is demanding or telling you that, okay, this is like this. So we go like that only. Okay. So the carbon atom as the least electronegative is in the center, correct? Now what they said, 10 valence electrons are there. We have 10 electrons in our hand. Then we will say, for a bond to happen, definitely a bond should happen. Otherwise, how this will exist? It has to exist. It has to combine, isn't it? So definitely a single bond should be there. A single bond should be there means how many electrons are there? 2 electrons are there each. This from one, this from the. Okay. Now what happens? Now, then the remaining electrons we have to adjust. We have to know how it goes. We have to know how my idea is every element in this carbon dioxide molecule should get 8 electrons each. So I should put in such a way that it should get 8 electrons each. So now how it is possible? Okay. Now by trial and error, we know that oxygen has got how many? 6 electrons. So 10 out of 10 electrons, now we have 2 goes like this, 2 goes like this. Now 4 has gone, then there is only 6 electrons remaining, isn't it? 6 electrons remaining. Now how will you put so that each one gets 8 electron. Okay. Now what will happen? This bond means 2 lone pair. Okay. If I put one more bond here, so 2, 4, 6. Now 4 electrons are there, isn't it? Sorry, I'm really sorry. It is not 10 valence electron. Okay, that's where oxygen atom, there are 2 oxygen atoms, isn't it? So 2 is 12. So 12 plus 2, 16 valence electrons. I'm really sorry. 16 valence electrons are there. Keep in mind. Okay, this thing can happen. Okay, there are 2 oxygen molecules. So 2 into 6, that is 12. 12 plus 4, 16 valence electrons are there. So once again, coming back, rewind. So what will you do? You have to put 2 bond. Correct. That means 4 electrons gone. Now, after 4 electrons, how many electrons will be there? 8 electrons are remaining. See, 8 electrons are remaining. So, you have to put in such a way that these electrons, where each one should get what? 8 electrons. Okay. So, the possibility is, so I know that, that's why I am just putting like that. Here, one bond, that is 2 electron. Here also, if I put 1 bond, 2 electron. So, calculate 2, 4, 6 and 8. Correct, 8. So, out of 12, 8 electrons we have given for bonding. Now, how many remaining? Remaining is 4 electrons. Okay. Now, see, here just have a look of carbon. What is the valence? I mean, how many electrons will be there? 2, 1 bond means 2. 2, 4, 6, 8. So, this carbon has got 8 electrons, isn't it? Am I right? This carbon has got 8 electrons. Now, what about this oxygen? 2, 4, 6, 8, isn't it? 2, 4, 6, 8. Correct. So, only 4 electrons are there, right? 4 electrons are there. Then, carbon is 2, 6, 6, 12, 12, 4, 16, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, then 14 and 16. See? How many electrons? 16 valence electron, correct? Out of 16 valence electrons, 2 and 2, 4 electrons is gone, first of all. Then, how many electrons? 4 means 12 electrons are there, isn't it? Then again, 2 and 2, 4 electrons are gone, isn't it? 4 electrons are gone. Then 8 electrons are there. Then 8 electrons we will put like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. See? Got it? So, altogether, how many electrons? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Correct. And you see for each one, For oxygen, 2, 4, 6 and 8, isn't it? For carbon, 2, 4, 6 and 8. For oxygen, 2, 4, 6 and 8. See, the octet rule is satisfied, isn't it? Multiple bonds are there. So, this is the Lewis structure for carbon dioxide. So, we will write the Lewis structure for carbon dioxide as, how you will write the Lewis structure for carbon dioxide? C, double bond O, here 2 pair, here 2 pair. Got it? So, tell me, how many bond pairs are there in this molecule? How many bond pair? 1, 2, 3, 4. So, how many bond pair? 4 bond pair and 4 lone pair. See? So, this is how you calculate the Lewis structure. Got it? So, this is how the Lewis structure goes. Hope you understood, right? So, do you want one more example of a Lewis structure? Now, if you want, I will have one more example. Okay, we will have CO molecule. Just for your information, just having the how you write the Lewis dot structure for carbon monoxide. Okay, you will see. And I will give you some examples for homework so that you can do it your own. Okay, now you will see the Lewis dot structure for carbon monoxide, CO. First is total number of electrons. What is total number of electrons? Carbon is 2, 4 and oxygen is 2, 6. Okay, so 6 plus 4, 10 electron. So the total number of electron is 10. Now, since there is only carbon and oxygen, however I put, it is okay, isn't it? Carbon and oxygen. Correct? Now the question comes, definitely there should be one bond between them in order to make that possible. So one bond means 2 electrons are gone. Okay, now what is remaining? 8 electrons, isn't it? Out of 8 electron, what is the possibility that each should get 8 electrons, octet. Each should get 8 electrons. So definitely there must be a multiple bond, isn't it? And if it is a multiple bond, if you put one more, then it is 2. Listen. Okay, say 2. So 4. So 4 means again 6. So 2, 4. Okay, if you put 2 and 4, only 6. So 2, 4, 6, 8 for carbon, but 2, 4, 6 for oxygen. So it will be wrong, isn't it? Again, if I put like this, here it is 2, 4, 6, 8 oxygen, here it is 2, 4, 6. So how that is possible for carbon monoxide? So what we will do, so that is all we have to get an idea. By practice you will get definitely. So again I can put what? One more. So 2, 4, 6, correct, 6, then 6, how many? Out of 6 gone, how many? 4 electrons left, isn't it? So 4 here, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, no. So here 2, 4, 6 deficient. So you have to wisely put these 2 electron here and these 2 electron here. See, this is the Lewis structure for carbon monoxide. See, this is the Lewis structure for carbon monoxide. Okay, so hope you understood. I will give you simple 3 examples. Simple 3 compounds. You have to practice it. Okay, if any problem, just give me a call. I will do it for you. Okay, the first example. The first example is, just do it genuinely. Okay, do it genuinely. Oxygen, okay, O3 and nitrogen, ammonia. Okay, so that's it. Do it. Thank you.